Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, December 8th, 2025, and we're here this afternoon for a work session with Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner John Cafalas and Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally. We have several items on today's agenda. Welcome to everyone who's here. We're going to start with the noxious weed fine, so I'll turn things over to Casey Cisneros, who is Land Stewardship Manager. Is that your title? Okay. And then we'll move on to our Director of the Ranch, Connor McGrath, after that. So welcome, Casey, and we'll let you get started.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Casey Cisneros, the Land Stewardship Manager with the Department of Natural Resources. And today I've brought an item here. It's a proposal from our staff within the department asking to authorize the use of noxious weed fines here in Larimer County to broaden our noxious weed compliance and also for some safety concerns for staff. So I want to just back up first and talk big picture. The state of Colorado has a noxious weed law that mandates local governments to seek landowner compliance. Noxious weeds are invasive exotic plant species that reduce biodiversity, degrade natural habitat, and alter ecosystem processes. Here, Larimer County seeks compliance largely through education and outreach. That's the majority of the work that we do to get landowners on board. However, we do have an enforcement procedure. If necessary, we can obtain a right of entry from the Board of County Commissioners to enter onto private land and manage the noxious weed infestation and then send the bill to the landowner. In 2024, the state legislature amended the Noxious Weed Act to allow local governments to also assess fines on private lands that are within violation. Our staff is proposing that the Board of County Commissioners authorize the use of fines to increase landowner compliance and avoid landowner-staff confrontations. The mechanism is similar to a fine that we would use for a zoning violation within the Land Use Department. This item has been formally recommended for BOCC authorization by the Larimer County Land Stewardship Advisory Board at our previous meeting in November. I've attached a memo that talks in more depth about some of the mechanisms around this fine and how it will be employed. I'm going to skip down to some of the guidelines we'll be using for application. It will only be used on well-documented code cases. Fines will only be applied if there has been a documentation of violations. The fines will only be considered when all the neighboring properties are actively managing their weeds with limited or no noxious weeds present, demonstrating that there is only a localized impact of noncompliance. And these fines will align with our Larimer County Weed Management Plan, which has already been adopted. So the process for implementing the fines is if there was a landowner we wanted to seek or issue these fines to, we would notify the county attorney's office, who would then file a complaint with the county court. And this is a longer process than what ours currently looks like. So it's not as easily employed as just getting a right of entry and going onto somebody's property, managing the noxious weeds and sending them the bill. However, in certain situations, we see it as being a much safer alternative when there are folks that live on these properties that we understand there could be some kind of confrontation with if we send crews out there. When I was doing this research for the noxious weed fines, I contacted Archuleta County, who's already implemented fines of their own, and Routt County, who's the one that headed up the effort in the state legislature to allow these fines to be issued. And when I was speaking with Routt County, they said that they did have a code compliance officer get shot 2 years ago from entering onto private lands. And that's the kind of stuff we would like to get around. So if there's concurrence from the board today, we would move this item to a land use hearing where we would post notice ahead of time so that the public can join and give comment. And there would be a formal presentation from someone in our department. And then you could rule on whether we can add this to our tools within the management plan toolbox. And one thing I forgot to mention is that the initial fine is to be assessed between $500 and $1,000, and then can be up to $100 for each day after that for which the landowner is not in compliance.
Thank you, Casey. Any questions for Casey?
Questions and comments?
Sure.
First, thank you, Casey. I value your long time here at Larimer County and your expertise and the great work you've done on the open spaces. And I know this is a growing problem. We have some noxious weeds that are starting to pop up that are new and kind of starting to spread. And I do, it seems like I can drive by a lot of properties at the end of summer going, oh, there they are. I do support this, and I think this is a great step forward. I certainly want everyone to be safe and not have what Rock County had. I did know about that case. My one question, and I just want to thank you for this work. I think adding tools to your toolbox is really important. My one question is, we only have part of the county that's through the district, right? So that's the only area. The other ones, sometimes they can contract with us to do work for outside the district if they pay for it, but this enforcement's only inside the boundary that's on the map. Is that correct?
That's not correct. It
Okay.
would be throughout
The whole
the
county?
entire county.
Okay.
To offset some of our shortfalls for noxious weed compliance, we do receive a small portion of the general fund to pay for an inspector to go out
Okay.
and look at these issues. And the difference is within the weed district, we have more resources to do personalized site visits, cost shares with landowners that have weed issues. But
Okay.
as far as compliance goes, it's very similar.
Okay, great. I appreciate you clarifying that because I was wondering if this was how big an area. So I do support this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavallis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Casey. Just a couple of questions. One is, in terms of the fine that's assessed, you mentioned initially 500 to 1,000, if I heard correctly. How will that work? Is that meant to reimburse either the county having to go onto the property to apply some kind of mitigation measures for the noxious weed, or perhaps a third-party contractor? So are we reimbursing ourselves or a contractor, or what is that dollar amount based on? And yeah, I mean, that can become quite a lengthy process, trying to get, with code compliance, if we go in and have somebody clean up an area, and then we have to go to court and all the rest. So could you speak to that, sir?
Yeah, thank you for that question.
Thank you.
I think it does need clarification. So when we would apply the fines, it would put the onus upon the private landowner to conduct the management. So they would be fined until their noxious weeds were adequately managed. We still have the ability to get a right of entry, go on their property and do an enforcement through management, but this would just give us another option.
Okay. Great, thank you. That's helpful. Then my only other question, and I do support moving in this direction, when do you anticipate this would be scheduled for a land use hearing? And when do you hope that, if all goes according to what you'd like, what the land stewardship folks would like, when this would take effect? So when would the land use hearing be, and when might this take effect?
The land use hearing will likely take place in the next 2 months, and Frank with the county attorney's office, he's currently working on some revisions to the county management plan that would reflect these changes, and if the board decides to authorize the fines, a resolution will have to be signed and then added to the management plan.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Casey, just a couple questions for me. Are there a lot of people that would fall under this category? I mean, have we seen a lot of noncompliance, and this is why we need to make this step?
I wouldn't use the term a lot. There is some, and there's some that I can think of with very high priority noxious weeds on their property where we have a very limited distribution of them within Larimer County and Colorado, and we've had issues with them managing their weeds, and so this would just, again, these would be folks that like live on the property that have been pretty adversarial when we've reached out and contacted them. We've even offered to go and do this work for free for them, and they've turned us down. And so it's a larger issue for the county if those weeds escape those
What is their,
small areas.
what do you feel like is the primary reason? Because I guess I was thinking it was money or something like that, but in some cases, it sounds like it's just that they don't want people on their property, or they want to manage the property the way they want to manage it. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty large range of opinions out there. I mean, some people just like the pretty flowers and can't believe that a pretty flower could be bad, you know. We got some pretty strange responses on this. But a lot of times, folks don't trust the government. They don't want government crews going on their property and working.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely had someone who called me who liked the flowers, and why were they getting rid of the flowers? This was several years ago, but.
And we try so hard to communicate
I know.
and educate.
So I guess, I'm supportive, we need to take care of this. And I guess I would just suggest when we, you'll do a presentation when we roll out the fines, that, we can be really clear about why this is important, and how this affects ecosystems and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I know some people still want the pretty flowers, but maybe if they understand why they're not helpful. They may look nice, but they're not very helpful. Anything we can do to educate people, I think, would be great, to make sure that people understand the reason that we're going to this length to take care of these weeds.
And there's some fantastic books out there that say plant this one, not that one. They might have similar flowers.
Right, exactly.
So.
Yeah, you can still enjoy flowers, just not the ones that are associated with noxious weeds.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you. And just to circle back, this would go into effect and be used for our compliance season in 2026, starting in April. Yes.
Great. All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that in the land use hearing in a couple months.
Great.
Within a couple months. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we will move on to item number 2, and Leslie Ellis is with us.
Thank you. Sorry, apologies for my tardiness today. So Leslie Ellis, Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources. Just before we start the second item here, very quickly, and Connor and Portia, welcome, and thanks for being here. And I'll let you introduce yourselves more fully in a moment. We just wanted to remind you that this is the master plan update, and this is a work session, so it's an opportunity to give input, and if there are changes that you'd like to see made. It's currently scheduled for review and adoption potentially in January on the 12th. If we need more time to, make changes or anything, then that could be bumped to another time in January. And also you'll see from Connor and Portia that parts of the plan are very, I think, certain and described according to input that you've given all along. And then some of the later phases are a little less prescriptive and a little bit more potential types of opportunities. So we're welcoming your feedback around those topics as well. So it should be a good conversation.
Commissioner Shattuck McNeely.
Thank you. I'm just going to jump on that real quick before you're just presenting. As you can see, I did a lot of note-taking. On the table of contents, it says adopted December 9th, 2025, so I'm assuming that will be a change.
Correct.
And so I just wanted to make sure, so that was
Yes.
the first thing, so I just wanted to ask about that, so.
Yeah, we did have to postpone this work session
Okay.
a bit, so
Okay.
that date might have worked had we had the work session in
Yeah.
November as planned, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Just checking, I just wanted to start there, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll turn it
All
over.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. And good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Connor McGrath. I serve as the Director for the Ranch Events Complex. Today, like Leslie mentioned, we're providing an overview of the amended master plan. At today's meeting, we do not expect that you'll have, it's the only opportunity for you to give feedback, so please know that it's an initial opportunity for you to provide feedback. In today's agenda, we will give a little context and background to the Ranch Master Plan, the previous implementation plans and phase plans. We'll also talk a little bit about the amended master plan, what's new with that, how it differs from the 2017 and the 2019 plans. We'll touch base on the financial studies and the framework that led us to where we're at today, both with the projects that are under construction, as well as the projects that are still being studied to ensure that they're viable. And we will discuss the governance path, the governance and the path moving forward, plus and making sure that the board has ample opportunities to provide impact, to shape the master plan, to make the necessary approvals and appropriations for the plan to move forward in alignment with what Larimer County voters have asked for. Our mission and purpose, you'll see here, we really pride ourselves, as you all know, of being a place where people can come together, celebrate. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but making sure that we are always bringing this back to the top of the conversation, that we're having publicly one-on-one with you as a Board of County Commissioners on our staff, that we make sure that we're always diving back into what is our mission and what is our purpose. And as you and members of the public read today, we do truly believe that the amended master plan is in alignment with the mission and purpose for us moving forward. And at any point, if you ever feel or you ever hear constituents giving that feedback that you don't feel like we're in alignment with our mission or our purpose, we'd love to engage with the community and with you to make sure that realignment is there.
Commissioner Shadegg, down.
Forgive me, I spent a lot of time and a lot of thought on this. I'm just curious, real quick, and maybe this is an offline question, but the mission, vision, and purpose, I think it's something that I don't remember reading. Maybe it was in the plan before, but it looks like it's been updated a little bit. Can you briefly tell me a little bit about that process and who kind of shaped this, what input, and did it come anything from the board as well? And I'm just curious how it kind of evolved to what we see today.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. The mission, vision, and purpose, I can't speak to that today, but I can do some research and bring it back. This was in the original 2017 implementation plan, but that's a good question, and we'll take a note of that and give you
Yeah,
feedback.
because, I mean, I thought maybe it had been amended because I think maybe it was always there, because I worked on the 2017 campaign, but I noted the proudly owned by Larimer County is like that first sentence, and I thought that was great. And so maybe if you get back to me, I don't want to take a lot of time, but I did have some curiosity about that and seeing how that looked and compared to now. And since it's like a whole new landscape basically out there, so just wanted to see. But anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. In the amended master plan document that each of you have, Commissioners, you'll see we have updates on the roadmap for the overarching plan as we know it today. This plan does replace the 2017 and the 2019 strategic implementation plans and incorporates the content that remains relevant in those plans into the amended master plan. The overarching master plan document still aligns with the voter-approved 0.15% of the sales and use tax that was extended in 2017, and implementation rolled out on January 1 of 2019. That is the same sales and use tax that we have been discussing that we are marching to sunset in 2039 through the implementation of Phase 2 of the master plan. And then we continue to respond to community growth, economic trends, stakeholder priorities, with the last one being really prevalent in our plans, and Portia will speak to this, in the past, current, and moving into the future. It's amazing how quickly priorities can change, and you as commissioners understand that much better than we do. And while we have not disengaged from stakeholders, we're with the projects even in Phase 2 that we're still implementing. And you may see some tweaks along the way when we come back and present information for your review and approval. And we'll continue to remind you why those changes are taking place. But largely, the changes that I'm thinking about today that we're studying are 100% driven by stakeholder priorities and feedback. And we value that. The amended master plan differs a little bit in terms of the presentation of the 2017 and the 2019. The initial difference that you'll notice, the 2017 and 2019 plans combined exceeded 500 pages. We really wanted to provide a plan to people that they feel comfortable picking up, reading, that they understand. If they moved to Larimer County last year and know nothing about the ranch or the master plan, that they feel like they can be educated in a document less than 40 pages, from where did we come from and our origins to where are we today and where are we looking to go in the future. And I feel like the plan in draft format achieves that. The plan is still grounded in the convention, sports, and leisure. So we've used the CSL organization for many, many years. You're probably familiar with some of the presentations they have given. They're a very reputable organization, and they've got great institutional knowledge of Larimer County, northern Colorado, and in particular the ranch. Their studies continue to inform this version of the amended master plan. We mentioned easier to read, but still with real substance. We purchased the 72 acres with your approval last December, and therefore that was not incorporated into the 2017 and 2019 implementation plans. There is language in this plan now that acknowledges that land. And then the amended master plan reflects the current project status, since we are under construction with some projects, but still studying others.
Commissioner Cafalas has a question.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Connor. Just a quick question. What I reviewed a couple of weeks ago was an awful lot of text. And yes, it's 30 pages, a lot of good detail, and all of that I think is excellent. But I wonder, is the final product going to have pictures?
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, I am not a picture. I am not a picture guy. We will. The copy that you received is more of an internal draft for the substance of the document, but we will have our marketing and graphics team make it nice and pretty and attractive, and again, attractive for people that will want to pick it up and read it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Well, maybe it's kind of a silly question, but and maybe I was just in a certain mindset over the weekend. But like on the last page, I'm assuming with the pictures and stuff, it says 25 out of 33 at the bottom. So I'm just assuming we got kind of a shortened version, and maybe those are the other charts or pictures and the others. I'm just.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm just like, what am I missing? I want to read more.
I wish I was more technical in giving you the document. I'm not as technical as I used to be. It is a page numbering error, and it will be corrected with the final version that is adopted.
Well, no worries. I just thought, well, what am I missing? I want to read more. So that's why I was hoping I maybe had some more graphs or pictures to look at. But no, I was just curious. I want to make sure I wasn't missing something. So thank you.
Yeah, you all have the full document.
Thanks.
On the right-hand side of your screen, and for members of the public, I won't read this verbatim, but we've got the key milestones that the document refers to, going back to 1998. And obviously, the ranch has been a pipe dream for people probably even prior to 1998, but the real substance started in 98. And then it goes through the goal of sunsetting the sales and use tax by 2039. On the left-hand side of your screen, it identifies some of the history and the context of information that we've put in the plan, starting from the phase growth of the ranch, going back to 98, building today for long-term sustainability. We mentioned this on the stakeholder input, but rooted in community input and best practices for the outcome for the projects that were voted for by Larimer County citizens. And then phase one, Portia will cover some of that content, but highlighting for individuals where have we come from in phase one in from 22 to 24, where are we at today, and to be very clear that phase one was a community impact project. We installed lots of infrastructure improvements. We installed community 4-H youth and community amenities, equestrian amenities. We all know that is not the long-term financial sustainable model for the ranch. So phase two overlays that, and it's a commercial-driven growth plan to bring new facilities online that will provide greater opportunities to generate revenues over expense. And with that, I will pass it over to Portia Cook.
Okay, I think I'm on. Good morning, commissioners, or possibly afternoon. My name is Portia Cook, and I lead strategic communications for the ranch, specifically focused on the ranch master plan, engaging the master plan and communicating the ranch master plan to various community members and stakeholders. So I will start with a brief recap of phase one accomplishments and our phase one project investments, which really established where we are going now with phase two. So again, phase one really did establish that strong foundation for growth, focusing on those community-driven improvements that are really meant to enhance experience and accessibility across our campus. These investments were used to drive the credibility and momentum needed for what's to come in phase two of the master plan in terms of our financial focus. So as a reminder, we did improve traffic flow, access, and safety with new entrances, individuals coming into the ranch, individuals moving out of the ranch in a more seamless manner, with our arena, circle, and roadways being relocated. We also took on and completed Origin Arena, what is now Origin Arena, most recently. That has been a wonderful sponsorship and partnership for the naming of the 4-H Youth and Community Arena, which is the indoor multi-purpose facility providing year-round space for our 4-H programming, community events, and regional shows. We also added 95 RV sites with electrical and full-service hookups, creating a new convenience opportunity for those long-term guests and event participants, being able to stay on the ranch and really rounding out that idea of the ranch being a destination and not individuals not just coming for one event and leaving, but giving a new opportunity for them to stay a little bit longer, especially for those that are coming for the event shows. We also doubled the warm-up space and upgraded guest amenities in the equestrian center through that warm-up expansion that gives us the ability to really attract those larger equestrian events and really improved overall participant experience. So we've had great feedback there. And then the outdoor riding arena, which is been open to public use, a portion of that arena, but it does still continue to be rounded out, and work on that continues to move forward with the new metal fencing being in place, so that the entire arena, whether it's used in one large arena or split up into 1, 2, or 3 smaller arenas, can be used for the public. Let's talk a little bit about stakeholder engagement. Over the last several years, we have built a layered survey approach that has been extremely successful, so that we're not just relying on a single moment in time or single data points. It's information and data that we're continuously receiving. So taking a look back, we began with the Strategic Implementation Plan Community Survey between 2018 and 2020. That was a very successful survey initiative that gained over 23,000 responses, and that really helped us inform the original strategic implementation plan, giving us a strong baseline of what people wanted from the ranch, what they wanted, what they needed, allowing them to have that real voice and that real input. Fast forward to 2023, the Corona Insights Community Awareness Survey, that was a mail survey, and from that survey we received a little over 250 responses. This is actually fairly great for a mail-in survey. So good to see the engagement there. That survey, as a reminder, focused on how well people understood the ranch and the master plan, and it made it very clear that we needed to tell the master plan story in a way that was more relatable and digestible. So giving us a lot of good data there. And then moving to 2024, we launched the Imagine the Future of the Ranch Events Complex survey. This survey is still open access and still live today, garnering over 1,200 responses from that. And the feedback continues to be extremely useful. This survey is online and it's collecting feedback on everything from future programming to amenities and overall general ideas of what the community still needs and wants. As Connor mentioned, the need continues to change every single day, every single week, and every single year. And so having the data come from these surveys is extremely important to us so that we're not just planning for right now, but we're able to plan for tomorrow, next week, 6 months, a year, 5 years from now. And it's infrastructure and programming that's still going to work not only now, but also in the future. And then most recently, when I came on board, we added the Ranch Master Plan Community Engagement and Communication Survey. This is a wonderful survey. It is also live right now, and again, our newest survey. This survey I specifically created to better understand what people know, not only about the ranch, but about the master plan, gauge where that knowledge stands, where the information gaps are, the communication and engagement gaps are, and then best ways and better ways to communicate and engage with different audiences and to build a unique way to have two-way engagement with various stakeholders. So one of the aspects that I love about this survey is community members or stakeholders of any kind can submit questions and comments through that survey. And then each month what I do is I go through and I take a look at common themes, common occurrences, whether it's a question or a comment, and then I go through and I answer multiple questions or address comments via our monthly newsletter that goes out to our community members, as well as an internal newsletter that we have for employees, but then I also take that and I answer the questions in a deeper dive blog post. So we've had great feedback on, hearing from us in real time and, not just, okay, you're gathering information, but we're really not hearing back from you anyway. This has really bridged that gap in engagement with various community members. So it's been wonderful.
Commissioner Shattuck, Commissioner Shattuck McNally has a question.
Yeah, a couple questions. Thank you. I'm sorry you were on a roll, and I apologize, and I know we're running short on time, baby, but I think this is important. As I was on the team that worked on the tax renewal, and there was a lot of community engagement there, and so a lot of these things I heard then I see in this plan. But the first question is, you mentioned the blog. I know I get the newsletters. So is the blog in the newsletter, or do you have to sign up separately for that blog? Or you mentioned, I don't know if I specifically remember a blog in that newsletter. Just curious about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the newsletter, that is what you have to sign up for in order to receive those monthly newsletters, and those will come into your inbox. The blog post is on our website. So if you go to the ranch website, if you go to About and Master Plan, if you go to About, the PR and News section of the ranch website, you'll be able to find all of our blog posts there, all of our feature stories there, and anything else that has been put out through the media, whether it's a PR from us or if it's a story that's been done on the ranch or the master plan, all of it will be found there. So blog posts in our PR and media section of our website, and anyone can go on there at any time and see those.
Great. My next question, I've been thinking a lot about this over the weekend. And I remember the conversation and the focus at the time when the tax was being passed, and some community members who were very passionate was going in a certain direction. We know they unfortunately had a tragic illness and passed, and so that energy kind of died, and there's been other energy in other areas. And when you talk about folks bringing lots of great ideas, I think it's always great we're engaged with our public. And as these ideas are vetted and brought together, and there might be a groundswell, we do know as commissioners, you can get a certain section of people that will come and rise up and want something a certain direction, but then maybe as policymakers or as staff, that may not be a feasible idea or direction, or maybe the southern part of the county would like to see this, but the northern county wants to see more of this. And so how are we, this is great, all this engagement, but how are we sensitive to, because when it comes down to, as policymakers, we have to think about policy, feasibility, funding, budget, sustainability. And I don't know, the ranch is amazing, and I just adore it, and it's doing lots of great things, but I don't know if we can be all things for all people. So I'm wondering, how do we balance that? And I don't know if that's a Connor question or a Leslie question or a Portia question, but how as policymakers, as we're over, I saw the hierarchy in the paper, but how does this come up? So all of a sudden, there's an idea, and we're like, where did this come from? And I'm not so sure this is a great idea. Can you trace back and let me know what this looks like? So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And Connor and Leslie may be able to deep dive into it a little bit more. But from my perspective, and in being the one that's engaging and seeing all of this feedback in real time, you're absolutely right. It's a balancing act. We cannot take information and just run with it. There's various things that we have to take into account. We're a very unique entity, being an events and experience complex and a multi-destination event complex that offers experiences through Northern Colorado, but being owned and operated by Larimer County puts us in a unique position. Also understanding in who we are and what our goals are through the master plan, that's also a part of what we have to balance as well. So just like you said, how do we choose what, feedback we go with or run with? It's the feedback the way that I see the feedback that we receive is it's really just education. It's giving us an insight into what people want, what people are thinking, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily something that we can go with. As you mentioned, we can't make everyone happy. There are things that we are able to implement, and we would love to have that balance of being able to implement as much of what community needs and wants. But does it align with who we are as a county? Does it align with who we are as the ranch and our identity there? Does it align with our overarching goal of becoming self-sufficient in the long run? So checking off as many of those boxes as possible. We're going to get a ton of different feedback. There's people that want things that I'm like, that's, that would be a little bit difficult to pull off, but thank you for the feedback. In reality, it's still great to hear it, but it's a balancing act of being able to check off as many boxes as possible that align with overall who we are in various ways.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll keep going because
I think Leslie.
I'll just 20 seconds, but yeah, I think that's really important information and feedback from the community. And of course, as you note, sometimes there are conflicting goals and objectives. And so a lot of the work that Connor and team have been doing at the ranch too, to look at the economic feasibility and other data and information, then of course bring that back to you as a board to decide which things are priorities. That's all part of the mix of doing these plans. So as you know, and as you've done in many other plans at the county too. So thank you.
I will quickly continue on. To date, we have engaged more than 12,000 residents in community surveys through surveys, open houses, town halls, community events, direct outreach, and that number is not just a one-time snapshot. Keep in mind that we are actively and continuously engaging, listening, and again, engaging and communicating the master plan, whether it's through in-person presentations, blog posts, utilizing partners for different feature stories to amplify our messaging. We continue to work very, very heavily in terms of communications and engagements with the master plan. So moving on to how this feedback has and continues to shape Phase 2. On the Phase 2A side of things, we have continuously heard individuals express a strong desire for local outdoor entertainment. They want concerts, festivals, community events at the ranch. So rather than having to travel for those elsewhere, being able to stay closer to home for those, and we're the perfect place for that. So the feedback that we're receiving in that area has really reflected the need for the concept of the event lawn, which is currently under construction, as well as the future outdoor amphitheater. That flexible lawn and event space, giving the opportunity for those larger, even medium to smaller, intimate community events. What we are, a part of who we are here in Northern Colorado. We love our outdoor music, we love our festivals, so being able to offer that again. We also hear very clearly from youth sports and youth multi-sports and hockey families. Ice time and practice spaces in various sports are extremely limited and increasingly competitive here in Northern Colorado. So there is a lot of advocacy in informing the youth sports and hockey facility concept with an emphasis on expanded capacity for practices, for training, for games, tournaments. We're hearing a lot on the sports side of things as well. And then in terms of Phase 2B side, our conversations with business and tourism partners and experts, event organizers, civic leaders, they've really highlighted our need for a regional expo and convention venue, paired with a headquartered hotel, at least in close vicinity of that, if we are wanting to stay competitive for those multi-day events, those larger convention and expo events, really having those two pieces will give us the ability to draw in those larger national events and keep people here at the same time. Again, thinking of us as that destination, not just having individuals come for a day, but staying. And that really is that economic driver as well. And then taken together, Phase 2, again, is designed really to balance what we're hearing from the community. So going back to your original question, we hear a lot from our community, but it's that balancing act. How can we balance what the community is asking for, what the community needs, with more entertainment, more youth, more sports, more flexible spaces, but also that projects that align with who we are as an entity that is owned and operated by Larimer County, but one that, again, meets that overarching goal of financial self-sufficiency over the long run. That is all that I have, and I will go ahead and pass it on over back to Connor.
Thank you, Portia. On your screen and included in the amended master plan document, commissioners, we have the different projects that we have brought forth to you all for review consideration. We mentioned earlier that we are still studying some of these projects to make sure that they are that they are financially self-sustaining and that they'll bring us to that long-term goal. There is an RFQ that is currently seeking feedback from the community regarding the hotel following the last meeting that we had with you as a board, to understand what appetite is there in the hotel space for private developers to be engaging with us to potentially bring that hotel to life. Pretty much I've covered everything on this slide already, but there's a little bit more detail here, call to attention regarding the feasibility analysis through CSL, the detailed performance, looking at the proven demand and the market analysis study, which is also conducted by CSL, and then ensuring that what we bring to market, if times like COVID taught us anything, the best security we can have is diversification, and ensuring that, to Commissioner Shelley McNally's point earlier, we're not chasing a dream. We're chasing something that is vetted in the performance of performers that we're looking at. We're looking at these projects holistically. The future vision. This is very much high level. We know how often and quickly plans can change. But today we're speccing, we're listening to the community and we're putting into the plans some of the high level themes that continue to be presented to us, which includes youth sports, workforce housing, multi-purpose development of some sort across the 70+ acres that we purchased last December, and then some other projects that we still need to vet out as we explore what we would do with that land.
Commissioner Chadwick McNally?
Yeah, and this was another area I had that I was looking at also. Just, I don't know why I had to kind of look at exposition center versus convention center, but that's another conversation. But the workforce housing and multi-purpose development, those are kind of new concepts we haven't talked about with that land. And when we first bought that other land, it was, what will we do with this? We were looking about expanding, what we would be doing at the ranch. And so some of this, is this, I don't think we've talked about it as a board, and it sounds like it's come from community, but also I'm wondering about what does this look like? We can't be all things, and yeah, we have a need for affordable housing, but also, if we're expanding, will we need other spaces to accompany this? I don't know what this looks like in 5 years, as we have all talked about. It seems to be a pretty dynamic space. Of course, we know we've been needing the exposition center or convention space. I guess conventions happen at exposition centers, and I don't know why I got hung up on that over the weekend. I was doing a lot of work at that. But so is this set in stone, and how is this driven? And I'm wondering what this all looks like.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. It is definitely not set in stone. The community feedback and conversations we were having really drew upon the reality of a large portion of the new jobs that are created by facilities like the ranch. They're not high-paying jobs. The jobs, the career positions are paid at market rate, but when we're looking at parking staff, food and beverage staff, they're paid at the market rate. That market is not a highly paid market. We were asked by multiple stakeholders, and then also by one of our partners that we have brought in to help us plan phase 2, would we look at a workforce housing option on the existing 244 acres? So it would be the land theoretically that they asked us to look at would be due east of the Embassy Suites. So it would parallel a lot of those businesses, the Chick-fil-A's, the 7-Elevens. As part of our study, look at it to see could it make sense for the ranch to be in that space. I don't know if the ranch should be in that space, but I think we ought to vet it and take a look at it if we know we are producing jobs in the market that are not highly paid positions.
And then who's doing that study? When's that? Because I think it said when I read it was starting now.
The study for the workforce development, the study for anything in phase 3 has not conducted. We have not started conducting that. The only work we have done regarding phase 3 is geotests for the land.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So Connor, at this point, you would bring that back to the board once you have information, and then they would decide what goes into a future phase. But these are the kind of things you're exploring. So this is sort of a what if for phase 3?
That's correct, Lamrita. And they're the themes we're exploring based on the community's feedback today.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
It may be too that, that's 5 years or more out, so it may be that there would actually be another amendment to this plan or a future plan that has those details fleshed out. And so just as you've done through all of phase 2 to get to a place where there's a fairly clear path forward on these projects that are outlined for phase 2, there would be a similar process for that too, so that you might actually do another version of this plan in the future once all those studies are complete and you've had further community engagement and conversations around it.
Well, I just want to say, for one, I love the idea of workforce housing in this space. And I do think that there's a lot of spaces that are built that don't contemplate that, whether it's malls or things like that. And then the housing around it becomes sort of luxury housing. And so people are driving for miles and miles if they can even have transportation to these spaces. So I love that stakeholders have brought that up. I would love to explore that further, and I think that is really smart as we want to contribute to we know there's a housing crisis. We in the county have identified that. If we can also be a partner in that, I think that really shows that we are committed to that kind of work. So I look forward to that. Commissioner Kafalas.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just want to concur that I fully support vetting the concept, as you folks have indicated. I just share the sentiment that if we determine looking at pros and cons in the future, that it's viable, it's something we ought to explore even further. And I do have a question on, but I don't know if time allows.
Yeah.
It does?
Oh, I'm not sure. How are we doing it? We're
Leslie,
doing,
where are we looking?
okay. Ask a question and then we'll kind of
thank you.
go through.
This has to do with the stakeholdering process. I'm curious. So it seems like some of the emails that we receive sporadically have to do with people who are a little bit upset regarding changes to the parking for people with disability placards. And I'm wondering if the stakeholdering has included a disability group that might be able to provide us input with that, and related to that question, what are your thoughts on why do we seem to get, there's a little bit of a theme there. It's not overwhelming, frankly, just a few folks that seem to be a little bit disgruntled regarding changes. And then when I've gone out there, it looks pretty good to me, but I'm not someone who requires to get out of a wheelchair and go an extra distance. Any thoughts on your perspective on that and whether we have or ought to stakeholder with, that specific group of folks?
Yeah, that's a good question, Commissioner. I don't know if I would be as bold to say that we have a stakeholder group that helps us in the space of accessibility or disability inclusion. You're all aware that we've partnered with Culture City in the past. We still remain an active member of Culture City. That's more on the sensory autism side. And what we've also partnered with members of the community that have shared the feedback with us, Commissioner, that they have had challenges. We've welcomed them into the space. I'm thinking of a number of families that have brought their children out who have physical accessibility challenges. And we've walked the space with them as well as with our ADA coordinator in Larimer County Facilities Department. We've made modifications, so you all probably have seen recently at the fair, we have carpet down on the dirt to make a runway for individuals who are utilizing walkers, strollers, wheelchairs, et cetera. That's a piece of feedback that came from those groups. We also used to have these decorative horse heads with chains as they kind of linked the walkways. They weren't ADA compliant or accessible. In today's world, we also used to have crusher fines in a lot of spaces, with us being the ranch and it being more ranchy. That used to work, and it doesn't work today. So you'll see we have lots of curb cuts we've put in place from 22 onwards. We've taken all of those crusher fines out and put in a concrete surface. We've taken out the horse heads, put in ADA compliant grab rails. The parking continues to be, it doesn't continue. The ADA parking for a period, it was concerning for some people. We have since put benches between the parking lots and Blue Arena, and we will have more are ordered between there and Peterson, so that people can take a break if they need to sit down and rest between the new ADA parking and the old ADA parking. But just for reference, the old closest ADA spot versus the new closest ADA spot are 31 feet further distance from the parking lot to Blue Arena. So that might be a useful metric for you to have. And we reduced about 600 feet of travel distance between the old closest ADA to the South Hall of Peterson versus the new, which at your upcoming party, you may see that at the South Hall in Peterson Toyota Center. The last thing is just not targeting people. We want to be sensitive and not make assumptions that we don't want to be going out and asking people directly for feedback. I feel like that would not be in good taste for us. So if there is anybody listening, or if you're aware of anyone that wants to be involved in giving us that feedback, it's a wide diversity of disabilities and accessibility, but we would love to hear from those individuals.
Real quick, if I could piggyback onto that just real quick, within our master plan community engagement survey that's currently out, I do have a portion of there where you can add yourself into a various stakeholders group. So I'd be happy to go ahead and add that as a stakeholder group as well within that survey. And just reiterating now that the current ADA stalls are in the closest possible rows to multiple facilities now versus just one facility. So really giving that access to multiple facilities rather than just a single building like Blue, but again, in the furthest possible location that they can be, or excuse me, in the closest possible location they can be to all of our facilities.
Great. So we've left ourselves 5 minutes, and we have 2 more reports and the rest of this report. So very quickly.
20
Commissioner?
seconds, thanks, Madam Chair. So I just want to go back to the workforce housing. Of course, I'm very sensitive to that. It's something I supported in Estes Park and other things. It's just not, for me, I have questions and vetting, and because this is not something, when I worked on that team, that the public, it wasn't in the original plan and what people had asked for, and things that people had asked for are not there anymore. And so I'm sensitive to the voters who approved that, thinking this, and so I'd like to have more information. Of course, I know we need some of that, but also I know there also is some workforce housing right across the street. And so, because I've been over there and explored that. So I have more questions and concerns. It's not that I don't support workforce housing. I have plenty of track record there. So I just wanted to state that. And I might maybe, if I can, talk offline a little bit more. I'm curious. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll cover the rest of this information to ensure others have time, but on screen, and has been presented for a little while now, is the hierarchy. The one thing I'd really want to make sure that we're very clear on is that the Board of County Commissioners will see all work before we contractually engage with any contractors, so you understand where the dollars and cents are going, what projects we're moving forward with. The path forward, we've covered phase 1. Phase 2, we're in the process of, we've mentioned we'll vet phase 3. We'll continue to get stakeholder engagement, and then we'll continue to be transparent and fiscally responsible with the sales and use tax dollars, the dollars that people are buying tickets with, renting the space through, and the COPs. So feedback, and I know we don't have a great deal of time, and I've seen many of you have notes on your documents, but back to the beginning of the conversation, if there's anything fundamental that you would like to add, we want to hear from you. We want to make sure that the priorities of the board and the community are being built into the master plan before we refine it and then adopt the amended master plan. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry for the shortened time, but we appreciate it. And I'm sure we will ask questions offline, or invite you to come back, so we appreciate that. So Community Development Director update, Rebecca Everett.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Rebecca Everett, Community Development Director. Just a couple updates for you today. Today's 3 o'clock land use hearing. We have 2 items that were previously noticed and scheduled that will be tabled. And so that leaves 2 items on consent, 1 item on discussion. They are all county staff initiated items this afternoon. And we do not expect significant public attendance for those items. For next week's hearing on December 15th, we have a 3 o'clock hearing that day. The 6:30 hearing was canceled. And we do have a 2 or 3 discussion items, I believe, for next week's hearing. So that one will be a little bit more substantial. Then I wanted to just let you know we are moving toward selecting finalists for the county building official position, and we plan to bring those finalists on site next week for final interviews. We have the goal of selecting someone for that position by the end of the year and having someone start in that CBO role in January. So more to come on that. And then finally, I wanted to just give you a heads up that Aaliyah Rodriguez and I met with a reporter today for Denver 7 News to talk about the grant that we were awarded from the state for an ADU fee waiver program. And we shared a little bit about the county's housing needs, housing goals, and that story is expected to air this evening at 5:30 on the news. That's it for me today.
Great, thank you. And Leslie?
I'll be very quick. So, and we're getting close to the end of the year, which is hard to believe, but we did have CDOT scheduled to come in and talk to you all about safety on US 287, and they are going to come in on January 12th now instead of December 22nd. So that's something to look forward to. So think of what questions you may have for them in January. That's it.
Commissioner?
So are we going to have a CPIR section at 1:30 on that date, since that, I think was that the 22nd or the 15th?
No, I'm understanding that's been canceled.
The
'cause we don't
22nd's been
have a
canceled.
full- I think we have some folks out that day, so that date's been canceled, and we'll move the session to January.
Okay,
And we
just
do have a
checking.
session next week, so that'll be our last one for
And
the
I
year.
confirmed that session too, by
Okay.
the way. Thank
Yes,
you.
and that's with the, on state forestry issues. Yes,
Thanks.
thank you.
Wonderful.
Commissioners, can I ask one
Yeah,
question?
please go
So
ahead, Commissioner.
you were looking for feedback on the master plan. I know we kind of hurried through it. Are you looking to get it directly to you from each commissioner? Is that their request?
That would be wonderful.
In 2 weeks? Well, how much time would you like?
2 weeks is appropriate if that works for the board.
Okay, thank you.
I'll send a reminder.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
contact you on Christmas Day.
I will send a copy of today's presentation electronically.
All right.
Was sent, that's a couple weeks ago, so maybe send that again.
Yep, I'll send that the amended master plan electronically also.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think that's all the business to come before us today, so at 2:31, we're adjourned.